Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm bringing you another single issue review. Today the issue in question is gonna be Berserker, issue number 2. So this issue just came out last Wednesday, then the last new comic book day was released April 28th, 2021. I'm going to be giving you guys my honest review. It is going to be a spoiler review. I'm going to be going over everything that happens in this particular issue. So of course, Berserker from Boom Studios, this is only the second issue of 12 that are going to be published, and this is Keanu Reeves' very first published work. He's co-writing this series with writer Matt Kindt. And then the art on this issue is by Ron Garney. I did enjoy the art for the most part. I felt like it was a little weaker than it was last issue. Ron Garney's art style is very much like a sketch type of thing. It was still good artwork though. And the writing was also very top-notch. I think probably Matt Kindt is contributing to this a lot. Who knows how good this comic could actually be, how well the dialogue could be told, all of that, if it was only Keanu Reeves actually writing this comic. But I'm glad that they have another co-writer on there just to make sure things end up working out okay. But in that first issue, we saw the adventures of this main character, who in this issue we learn his name is actually B. Who knows what that stands for, but people refer to him by that name in this issue for the first time. But you can see he looks a lot like Keanu Reeves. You might think that seems kind of narcissistic of Keanu to make the main character look exactly like himself, but I think the reason for that is because they're hoping for this to eventually be adapted into a movie. Of course, Keanu's main field of work is acting in different movies, and this series actually just got confirmed to have a Netflix adaptation. You might think that's strange because they confirmed that just after the first issue is released. Usually when there's comic adaptations, they'll come out like years after the actual comic has ended. But in this case, I think it was kind of a long project that got pushed back many times, so the timing ended up seeming kind of strange. But believe it or not, the co-writer Matt Kindt actually left a comment on my last new comic book day reviews video. Go check that out to see his full comment, but he was basically just explaining how the timing worked out strangely with the Netflix movie adaptation. But we got a little bit of backstory to this character named B in the first issue. Basically the info we got in that one was that he is some sort of a mortal man. He's able to heal from wounds very quickly, similar to Wolverine and other characters that have strong healing factors. Except he's been doing work for the US government, and as the title would suggest, he goes very berserker. He has like amplified powers, probably super strength, so he was able to plow through all of the guards in a country they went to. They traveled to Venezuela in order to assassinate the president of that country. And that first issue is basically just a look into the daily current life of B. One of his jobs, taking down that president, as well as having a session with his therapist. And lately his therapist back in the US government base has been trying to get him to remember his past. And at the very end of last issue, we found out that he's actually 80,000 years old. There's just a lot that he doesn't remember, and they're trying to treat him so that he can rekindle those memories. Over many years, so many different people have tried to figure out what the deal is with his powers, trying to get him to remember all of those 80,000 years that he'd lived through, but now it seems to be finally working. And to be honest, this issue itself was actually a much slower issue than the last one. We still got some action, but actually in present day, almost nothing happened. The whole issue is basically just flashbacks explaining B's origin, and I really liked how they managed to just get everything done in this issue explaining the origin, instead of like sprinkling little clues as to what led up to present day, like they do in other comics. I like how they just got straight to what they needed to tell. In this second issue, he explains that he was born in a village, and the people in his village had traveled around a lot, always looking for a settlement, and finally they found fertile ground where they could do farming and have a regular life that they could sustain there for a long time. But the problem with this town was that another local village would annually attack them, as well as stealing their farmland and taking away all the other necessities that they need. This was really the only thing keeping this place that they had found from being perfect. So they needed some sort of solution. And B's parents were remembering like a long-forgotten god that their ancestors had once worshipped. They decided that they had lost all hope. They might be able to figure out some sort of concoction to worship this god again, ask him to send some sort of prayer down which will help them against the army of the other village. Basically, the god was able to bestow powers and immortality into a baby which was in her belly at the time. And when he came out, he started growing very quickly. So at this point, all of the village knew that This was the blessing that the god had bestowed upon them. They knew that they needed to train him to take down the villagers to prepare for the next time that they'd come. He was aging very quickly and was already like a young boy. And finally, when the time came, all of the village knew that he was finally ready. And he went absolutely berserker, like the title, on all those village people, and that was the first time that he had ever really gone through a huge massacre like that. And he was explaining to his therapist throughout the fight scene where he's taking down the other village that going berserker like that is basically what makes him feel calm. Being berserker isn't what you might think it is, just not going like absolutely crazy. Somehow the god made it so that that's what makes him feel the best. He's at his greatest when he's in that berserker mode. So it's basically in his coding, his DNA, to feel like that. So they'll want to take his wrath out and use his super strength against the evil people attacking the village. And the issue ends off with B opening up a little bit more to his therapist. He's starting to trust her more and more than he's ever trusted anybody else through his 80,000 years of existence on Earth. And he tells her that after that massacre, that was the last time he had ever felt happy. So it seems that he's since then been going down this dark path of going berserker. And ever since then, ever since he was in his home village being trained by his mother and father, things have never been quite the same. So like I said, not much happened in this issue. It was all just the backstory, but I really appreciated how they explained everything in this one issue. I would have expected a little more action out of the second issue of the series. It's just still starting, but that's basically what we got last issue. It was just a day in the life of B, and now we got the backstory. It's really straightforward, and I'm enjoying it so far. I think they have a lot of places that they could go with this. I really don't know what the main plot of the story is going to be. I don't know if there's going to be a main villain or if it's just going to be kind of one-off issues where B goes on different missions for the US government. Who knows, maybe he's going to betray the US government, go his own way. And I also think that they probably won't actually use this, but I think it would be a possibility for a few issues to explore that god which bestowed him his powers when he was in the womb. I think they could really explore that in this series, but I can't wait to see where the series goes. We haven't even seen any hints at what will be the main story of this 12-issue series, but we'll see what they can fit into the rest of it. They've still got a long ways to go, but I'm glad that the origin is fully out of the way. And of course, I've got to give you guys something out of 10 as a final rating of it. I usually give you guys some sort of rating at the end of these single issue reviews. So for this specific issue, I think I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Like I was saying, the artwork was pretty much good for the most part, and the writing and dialogue was very great. The only thing was that I would have maybe liked for there to be a little more action. I know it was just a backstory issue, but maybe it could have come a little later. Other than that though, this was a very good issue. I definitely suggest you guys pick up Berserker if you haven't already. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up today's single issue review of Berserker number 2. Let me know what you guys thought of this issue if you've read it yet though, down in the comment section below. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking about this comic so far. And also, before we go, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this review at all. You can also hit that notifications bell, which is sitting right next to it. You'll be notified every single time I post a new video if you don't want to miss any. So that's everything from me for today. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye, guys.